Rachel Maddow and Sean Hannity could get together at a cigar bar and they both smoked a cigar. They'd chill out and they'd find some common ground. Where else in America do you feel like we're finding common ground? You know, because I have a pretty decent Facebook following, friends. I've got friends from the extreme right, ex-military, or, you know, they're fans of the QAnon theories, all the way to like the extreme progressive left. Because of course we live in Southern California. And what's funny is when I see these people who don't know each other kind of start to either badmouth each other or get angry at each other on social media, a lot of times I'll chime in, I'll be like, you know, the funny thing is Bill and Susie, and these are hypothetical names, Bill and Susie, if you guys met in real life, you'd be good friends. You have a lot of shared values. You have a lot of same theories on how to raise your kids. You've got a lot of the same business acumen. Like, other than the cigar bar, where do you think in America right now we can find some common space? And my friend Chris Lockheed, who we're going to have on the podcast, he's a brilliant marketer. He's a very smart guy. He's like most Americans. He's a little bit more progressive on some things, and he's a little bit more conservative on some things. But he talks about what we need in America is we need a radical middle. And he talks about this theory a lot recently, and I want to have him on the podcast to talk about this, because I think I might be the first interview with him where he talks about this concept. He says, you know, what we need in America is forget about the fucking radical left and the radical right. What we need is a radical middle.
I really like that idea.
Yeah, and where else do you think in America we can find a radical middle?
I think that it exists everywhere that's not social media, that's not on the street in protests. I disagree with the person that I spend the most time with outside of my girlfriend. In fact, I probably spend more time with her than my girlfriend, the person that I work with, you know, my partner. I see her from 8-ish to 5-ish every single day, and we disagree significantly politically, but there's a mutual respect because we've had those conversations that get past the, oh, you're a bleeding heart liberal, closed-minded, whatever. And she's gotten past the, I'm a white, straight, whatever guy that just, you know, wants to oppress everybody. Like, she knows that I'm a good person. Like, I make plenty of mistakes, but she knows that, like, I care about her. And I know that she cares about me. So I think it exists everywhere. Like, I mean, Chris over there, you guys probably disagree quite a bit politically, right? But you guys know each other. And so you get beyond the disagreements politically because he knows that you care about him and vice versa. I think it's everywhere. It's just what we see so much on the phone is the disagreements. And now it's like, that person's an idiot, so I've got to chime in. But I think if you get to know somebody, it's very, very, very difficult to talk to them the way that you would on the social media. So I think it's everywhere. I really do. Anywhere that you could sit down and actually get to know somebody. I don't think it's as uncommon as we would think when we just look at the phones.
I think going back to social media, for the past, 15 years, we've been on this trajectory as a country of getting more and more isolated and distant, and we can hide behind a keyboard, and that's becoming normal. And maybe it's like a slow, I don't know, like a frog being boiled slowly kind of thing. You don't recognize where you're at until it's too late. But I think this year with COVID forcing everybody into isolation has highlighted the problem. And I really think when things open back up, we're going to see cycling clubs and softball leagues and groups of all kinds forming, and with record engagement. There's going to be a new excitement about just being with people. I think something really healthy is going to happen in the next couple of years.
I hope you're right. I'm encouraged by that thought. I hope that's 100% right. I listened to a guy, Scott Galloway, who has a podcast called Prof G and another podcast called Pivot that he does. And Scott Galloway kind of came to prominence because he did this awesome YouTube video called The Four Horsemen. He was talking about Google, Facebook, Apple, and
Netflix.
which one was going to get to a $1 trillion market cap first. And now he's become this really famous podcaster and whatnot. And he talks about, yes, that would be great. And maybe there's a little bit of a concern that because of the on-demand society, right? So it's like, if I want to watch a movie, I can now do it on demand in my house without having to go to a movie theater, which is kind of a shared experience with a lot of people of different backgrounds and socioeconomic environments and different races and cultures and whatnot. If I want to get a great workout, I can buy a Peloton where I'm pretty much looking at Caucasian men and women being the instructor, and I can work out in my home in my own bubble versus going to a gym where I would encounter other people of other ethnicities and social economics. So he's very concerned that because of the on-demand society, we're actually putting ourselves more and more in a bubble. And then you talk about the social media of like just being an echo chamber and just showing you shit that you want to see. Like, I wish there was a button on Facebook or YouTube or anything. And actually, Chris brought this up the other day. Chris was like, man, I wish there was a button on YouTube that I could click and be like, show me all the shit I'm not interested in. Show me the shit that's in diametric opposition to the stuff that I normally search for. Because I am a little worried that with the on-demand society, it allows us to be a little bit more and more and more and more just in our bubble of like, I prefer whatever, conservatives over progressives, and I prefer this income earner versus that income earner, and I prefer people that can work out at home and have the finances to do such instead of going to 24-hour fitness. It is a little scary. So I'm encouraged by what both of you said, right? Like, we're going to look for more engagement. We're going to look for more social interaction after we come out of this COVID. I'm a little worried. Are we ever going to come out of the COVID? Or is COVID just going to be the new kind of normal for, oh, I can live in my bubble, right? My wife and I are blessed enough to be like, we're buying a Peloton. My wife doesn't even know this, but we've got a Peloton treadmill being delivered on Thursday. So we'll theoretically never have to go to the gym again. I can get just about anything on Amazon delivered in 3 seconds. I could build this podcast to a point where like the only people that are following us are people that agree with me politically. I think there's a real danger in like, we don't have those shared community events anymore. The softball league, the church, the cigar bar, where we get varying opinions. Like, am I just crazy? Have I read like 1984 too many times? Or do you think this is like a real concern?
I think it's a valid concern. And I think it's like Chris is talking about the button. I think it's just us being aware and conscious of the fact that we are being fed an echo chamber. And in order to avoid it, we just have to choose to avoid it. Like, being aware of it. That's it. It's simple, but I really think that it's super important to intentionally go out and seek people that are different than you, that think differently than you do. That's it. Because the isolation, that part I am more skeptical of. I think that will only intensify and continue more and more. Because that's where the money's at, right? There's a reason why you get fed that stuff. That's the stuff that you're interested in. That's the stuff that you agree with. So I think that that's only going to continue. So the money is in isolation, right? Money is in isolation of feeding you what you already agree with and what you quote unquote want to see. So I think that part I am equally skeptical of and fearful of, because I think that will only continue. So it's going to require, because we believe in individuals and not collectivism, it's going to take individuals to recognize that and step outside of their comfort zone.
So here's my question. Like the Four Horsemen or whatever, they make their money by feeding you more of what you want to get you engaged with their platform for a longer period of time. You know, I'm sure they have psychologists that are working on how to get you addicted, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do. So that's the way the algorithm's set up. It's so it feeds you more of exactly what you're asking for. Is there a way to have a social media platform that feeds you other stuff and still keeps you engaged? Like, how do you sort for interesting but different and feed that to people?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody solves that, right, we're good to go. Like, I've gotten to the point where when I look on YouTube on my computer or on my phone or on TV, I'm a little frustrated by the fact that it shows me the same 7 songs over and over again. It's like, yes, I like Chris Cornell, I like Pearl Jam, I like Guns N' Roses, but like, I don't know, maybe there's a fucking 1970s Cool in the Gang song that I would love. So whoever solves for that metric, I think I'm gonna be addicted to that platform.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example. The other day, I Googled some Miley Cyrus song, right? Because Miley Cyrus did a cover of Zombie by the Cranberries. And I was in high school in the 90s, and there's this theory that, like, whatever was popular in music when you were 14 or 15, that's kind of what you're stuck on for the rest of your life. So, like, I'm a big Cranberries fan.
It's true.
I had heard from my assistant, who's 10 years younger than me, that Miley Cyrus had done this cover of Zombie, this famous Cranberry song. So I Googled it. So then I watched it on YouTube. So now there's a bunch of Miley Cyrus songs coming up. And I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, I'm a huge fucking Miley Cyrus fan, right? Like, it's like she's got a crazy voice. She's got this raspy, almost like she smoked too many cigars. She's got this like raspy, intense, like almost 1970s female singer voice. And I'm like, oh, I'm a huge fan. But had I not Googled that and YouTubed it in the first place, YouTube would have never said, like, Scott, you might like some Miley Cyrus hits.
Right.
I think whoever solves that equation, forget about whether they make more or less money, like, they might solve a lot of the world's problems.
And what about, like, when you see political posts on Facebook, it feeds you more of this, like, angry emotion. What if there was a way to reward the user for writing something positive, right? Or, work it differently so those positive comments sort to the top.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems solvable.
Yeah, it does seem solvable, but it seems, I'm sure, if you're sitting at the head of Facebook, it's got to seem like an insane risk, right?
Right.
That's where I'm skeptical, is it absolutely could be done. And it does happen to some extent. Like, you get the photo of the engaged couple or, the family photo or whatever, right? Like, those do come up, right? So
But then they just make you depressed because you don't have those yourself.
That's a personal problem. No, I'm kidding.
I think everybody feels that way.
No,
at times.
for sure. Yeah, like I was talking to my buddy because he was telling me how he saw a social media post and it made him feel like he wasn't successful or whatever. A buddy from high school had, done something that made him feel that way. So yeah, I get it, but I think that the algorithm does feed some of the positivity, although it is more of a highlight reel than anything else, which makes you feel less than. But at the end of the day, going back to your skepticism that I share, is it will come down to what it is that is going to generate the most revenue. And that's to be expected. That's why, like, I come back to, like, the responsibility of the individual to recognize that. And maybe if you checked out Miley Cyrus, your political equivalent would be, all right, I'm going to go and watch Rachel Maddow YouTube videos for the next hour or whatever it may be. And then that'll pop it up. But what I think would happen is you'd get tired of Rachel Maddow videos after a week and you'd go back to watching Dave Rubin videos. And so, it kind of sorts itself out in the algorithm. So I think it happens, but at the end of the day, it's always going to go back to the least common denominator or whatever it is. It's going to get the clicks to generate the revenue.
Revenue. It's brutal. Makes the world go round, but also causes so many problems.
Yeah.